Hi everyone. This is a video to help you know what to do for the written part of the Christmas Carol assignment. This clearly isn't a Christmas Carol. You could still do a Christmas Carol if you want to, or if you had already started working on one. You could choose any piece of music that you wanted to use for this assignment since we're after Christmas. It really doesn't matter. You could do these same things on any piece of music. The first step you're going to do is you're going to look through and play through your whole piece of music, and you're going to try to figure out what spot is the climax of the piece. Where's the high point of the piece? A couple of clues here. The climax is often the highest note or one of the highest notes of the piece, and it's usually found in the second half of the music. So I had some people, like say, "Hey, here's the climax of the music on the, right away at the beginning." And if that's the case, then everything after that is kind of this letdown and this anticlimactic part. And so the climax usually comes later in the piece. So after looking through your music, what I want you to do, and maybe even playing through it a time or two, is choose where you think the climax is, and then you're just going to mark that with the number 1. That's your main climax. If you feel like there is another other climax that you would like to mark in as well, sometimes pieces have a couple. They build to a spot, and that's a definite climax, and then they hang out there a little while, and then they build up even more. You could mark your second climax with a 2. I didn't feel like this piece had one, so I just chose to use a 1 for that. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to put in dynamics that support your climax. If I want this to be the loudest part of the piece and there's no dynamics in my piece, I have to write them in. So I put in fortissimo here to be the loudest part of my piece. Your piece, if you don't want it to get up to fortissimo, wouldn't have to include that. Maybe the loudest part should be mezzo forte, but all of your other dynamics are going to have to be adjusted based on that. So as you can see in my music here, I start mezzo piano, I build to mezzo forte, build to forte, and my climax is at fortissimo. And then I think this piece has a really kind of subdued and quiet ending, so I didn't chose to step it back down gradually. I have a pretty drastic change to mezzo piano after the fortissimo, but that's because that's how I interpret the piece. So label your climax and your secondary climax if necessary. Add dynamics to the piece and make sure they support your story arc where your climax is. The third kind of step here is to label where phrases are in your music. A phrase is a musical sentence. So it's kind of the natural pause where we would put like a period or some kind of sentence ending in English. We also put a phrase ending in music to have this moment of rest, and often there's even a little pause there when musicians will breathe there, and sometimes even percussionists or string players put a pause there as well. If there are words to your song, using the words to help you figure out where phrases is a smart idea, because then you can actually just look at the words and follow the punctuation, and that will help show you in many instances where the phrases are. When you do figure out where you think your phrases are, you're going to use these little apostrophe looking things at the end of each phrase, and you're going to mark in all of the endings of your phrases using those. So as you can see, I did that throughout this piece. Phrases are almost always in 4 measure chunks or 8 measure chunks. So you can use that to help you figure out where your phrases might be as well. And then the next step to do with phrases is to add some dynamics to them. A lot of times phrases go up and then come back down. So you can see my phrase starts on this low D here and goes up to an E. And then really it comes back down and pretty much hangs out on this G right here. So dynamics in phrases, or phrase shaping as we call it, will follow the shape of the music many times. So I have my dynamics getting louder as we go up and then getting softer as we come down. And I did that in the second phrase as well. Goes up to here and comes down and kind of rests on that G. I didn't put any dynamics in here because, in these measures, because this is really hanging out kind of on that G, G, one note below, G, one note above, and then this wants to be a G, but it isn't, and that's why the song wants to go on. We have the same thing over here, and it's a G, and then this part of the song is at rest. So for your phrases, look and see where the pitches go up and put crescendos in there, and look and see where the pitches go down and put decrescendos in there. If the pitches aren't giving you the clues that way, if they're a little bit more random looking, then what you want to do is you want to just assume that the phrases are going to be shaped in a normal way and that they would go up for 2 measures and come down for 2 measures. Get louder for 2 and get softer for 2. If it's a 4 measure phrase, or a crescendo for 4 and decrescendo for 4 if it's an 8 measure phrase. The last thing that you should do for the written part of the assignment is you should decide whether your piece is a song or a dance and label it that way. And that's going to tell me how you interpret it. If you're thinking of the piece as a song, like I think this piece is, that tells me that you're thinking that the piece is pretty lyrical. The main articulations would be tenuto, legato, slur kind of articulations, so very smooth and connected notes. Songs are often slower and more lyrical feeling, and often they're not as loud. So, and I think all of those things apply to this piece of music. So I would say I'm conceiving of it as a song. If I was thinking of a piece of music as a dance, the characteristics of that would be faster tempo, more spots that are loud, more articulations like staccatos and accents, so space between notes that pop, and so quicker tempo and louder dynamics, all of those things that kind of make you want to get up and move. So that would be how you would determine if a song or if a piece of music is a song or a dance. So a quick review: label your climax, add dynamics in that will support your climax decision, figure out where your phrases are, mark those in with the apostrophe kind of symbol. That's called a phrase mark or a breath mark. And then add in some crescendos and decrescendos that show phrase shaping, and then label your piece a song or a dance. Do all of those things and turn in a written copy of music, and that's what I'm looking for in the Christmas Carol written assignment.